2, 3. So now I'm setting a 30-second timer. So that was the first set, which was the control set to establish a standard number of reps before the Golgi tendon organ reflex triggered, which what you saw was basically just failure. That happens when your skeletal muscles are under too much contraction, and then that results in failure. So my hypothesis is that a shorter resting time will result in less reps, and a longer resting time will result in more reps. The second set will be after 30 seconds to show how a shorter resting time, there we go, a shorter resting time is inadequate resting time for your acetylcholine levels to go back to normal and give optimal performance. So as you can see, we just did 1 rep. Now I'm going to set a timer for 1:30 right here. So that was the second set. The third and final set will be after 1:30, and the second set had less reps because the afferent pathway that started from the skeletal fibers that activated the encapsulated mechanoreceptors in the Golgi tendon organ triggered the 1B afferent fiber that releases glutamate into the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, and then that triggers the 1B inhibitory interneuron and the spinal cord that then starts the efferent pathway, which releases glycine into the agonist alpha motor neuron, which in this case will be the biceps, and then it releases glutamate into the triceps, which is the antagonist muscle group. And then that happens because the acetylcholine levels acting on the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors on the agonist muscle fibers is reduced, and it is increased in the triceps, which is the antagonist. So the second set was just done, had less reps because the first set there was more acetylcholine in a neuromuscular junction, and in the second set there was less because there was enough time. And then how much time? All right, 3 seconds. So now, this is the third and final set. So as you can see, the third and final set resulted in more reps than the second set, which shows the hypothesis is correct, and that more resting time equals more reps because the acetylcholine levels have had enough of time to recover, but not compared to the control set, which was just fresh basically. And that is because the Golgi tendon organ the reflex triggered earlier in the second set because there was excessive contraction in the agonist muscle, and basically the reflex is just there to protect it from being hurt. So now I will show my diagram which explains it in detail. So starting with the contracting muscle, it triggers the Golgi tendon organ by deforming it, which also deforms the 1B afferent fiber, which travels into the dorsal root ganglion, and that meets with the 1B inhibitory interneuron, which is inside the spinal cord, and that branches off to affect 2 things: the agonist motor neuron, which it releases glycine to inhibit it, which ends up releasing less acetylcholine and thus less contraction. And the other pathway is the glutamate, which is a excitatory neurotransmitter, which acts on the antagonist motor neuron, which is the triceps in this case, which excites it and contracts it because it releases acetylcholine from the motor neuron axon, which, as you can see, it binds to. And then in the neuromuscular junction, it triggers onto the nicotinic acetylcholine receptor, which acts on the muscle fiber to contract it. And that's it.